I've actually painted a little bit of masking fluid on earlier to mask out some of the light edges on the trees, and I've also spattered some of the Bluebell area and I've let that dry. So I've wet the paper and I'm spattering now a mixture of ultramarine and any pink will do onto the surface with my size 6 brush, just to create the look of bluebells. It's a nice way of painting bluebells in this random way. So now I'm actually painting in my spring greens. I've used Hansa Yellow Light with Cerulean and I'm painting this wet into wet with my size 6 brush. Once you've painted all your spring green grasses in there, I'm actually sprinkling in a little bit of Brusho now. It's called Ost Blue, O-S-T, but you could use Cobalt Blue or Violet, anything you like, or you could use your watercolour pencils and your sandpaper, or just give it another spatter, whatever you fancy, just to create that little bit of texture and detail. I'm painting in now some really quite yellowy paint in the background, working light colour first and building up the dark. So it is the Hansa Yellow Light with a tiny pinch of Cerulean, and I'm just putting a little bit more in now, building up, working wet into wet to create the foliage in the background for these lovely spring trees. I'm having lots of fun here because I've actually spattered most of the foliage in here using all the sort of greens that I showed you that I mixed earlier, mixing the Cerulean and even using some Quinacridone gold as I'm doing here with the Cerulean to mix a darker green and to spatter this onto the damp background here. I thought it'd be quite nice to actually spatter some of this dark green in the foreground as well, just to balance out my little composition. And before I let this first stage dry, I thought I'd spatter up a little bit more of the Bluebell colour to finish off. My painting has dried now and I'm just going to start painting the trees with a mixture of burnt sienna, touch of ultramarine, maybe even a little bit of violet and some Payne's grey, working wet on dry to begin with and then wet in wet. I hope you enjoy the soundtrack of the birds. I recorded this the day I went to the woods. I couldn't resist it. Bird song, beautiful. I've painted some shadows on the side of my trees now. I've allowed my painting to dry and I'm just taking off all of the masking fluid now, and you can see there's some lovely light on the left hand side of the trees and in the grasses. And I'm actually now sponging with a natural sponge, wet on dry, using these lovely spring green mixes, the foliage, that lovely foliage in the background and a little bit in the grasses as well. I've allowed my painting to dry and I'm just painting in some details now, using a bit of burnt sienna and Payne's grey, some of the branches in the trees and some of the smaller trees in the foreground there, just enjoying it and just taking my time to create this atmospheric spring greens landscape painting. I thought I'd paint a few more bluebells in here, and I'm using ultramarine with a touch of pink and a touch of white gouache. I'm spattering it on here, just here and there with my size 6 brush. I'm just finishing off now with a little bit of dark sponging, using the Cerulean blue with the Hansa Yellow Light with a bit of Payne's grey, and just very gently tapping some of this dark green foliage. Just going towards the end of the painting now, and I'm absolutely going mad with some spattering of all these spring green colours and a little bit more light bluebell colour. I'm actually using Daniel Smith's lavender. Just a little bit of a final spatter just to finish off. So here is the finished painting, and I've removed the tape to reveal a lovely light border. It's lovely. If you'd like to see the longer, more in-depth version of this with lots more voiceover, why not think about joining my Patreon membership? Details about that can be found in the description below. Thank you again for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.